Why did one of Hollywood's most iconic love stories end in such prolonged silence that the world is still left guessing? Why has Angelina Jolie, a woman known for her courage and candor, chosen not to speak publicly about her contentious divorce from Brad Pitt while he is actively attempting to regain custody of their children? And if most children tend to gravitate back toward their father in adulthood, why have all 6 of their children, upon reaching legal age, seemingly turned away from Brad Pitt? This is not just another celebrity breakup. This is a complex story of family, fame, power, and deep emotional wounds. A story where the public is left to piece together scattered fragments, while the full truth remains carefully hidden behind flashes of paparazzi cameras and cryptic headlines. Years after the high-profile divorce announcement of Hollywood's once royal couple, there still has been no official statement from Angelina Jolie. Her silence does not imply that there's nothing to say. On the contrary, it may suggest that what needs to be said is too large, too difficult, and perhaps too painful to be delivered in the way the public expects. Meanwhile, Brad Pitt, once accused of being abusive not only to his wife but also to their children, is now reportedly attempting to mend fences and rebuild relationships with the very people who once called him dad. Notably, several of their children, Maddox, Pax, Zahara, Shiloh, Knox, and Vivienne, have legally removed Pitt from their last names. That isn't just a legal technicality. It's a silent but powerful message. We no longer claim this man as our father. So what really happened in the home of a family once admired by millions? Leaked details from reputable sources suggest a major turning point occurred during a 2016 flight, where Pitt was allegedly intoxicated and became physically and verbally abusive toward both Jolie and one of their children. Though he wasn't criminally charged, the incident triggered an investigation by the FBI and Child Protective Services. From that moment, the father-child relationships reportedly began to deteriorate. Maddox, the eldest, is said to have stepped in to defend his mother during the chaos, and has not been seen with Pitt since. Pax, their adopted son from Vietnam, allegedly wrote in a private post that Pitt was a terrible and despicable person, and vowed never to forgive him. Zahara, once visibly adored by Pitt, and frequently seen at red carpet events with him, has now dropped his last name in her college documents. When several adult children take the same drastic step, can they all be mistaken? More recently, Brad Pitt has reportedly reached out to Angelina's father, veteran actor Jon Voight, seeking his help to open a channel of communication. This move is both surprising and desperate. If the children refuse to speak with him directly, could a grandfather, with his own strained history with Angelina, truly act as a bridge? One source claims that Voight is willing to help but doesn't hold much hope. That observation leads to a deeper question. Has Brad Pitt already lost not just his family, but also the trust and warmth that once surrounded him? It's easy to get swept away by celebrity glitz, and forget that behind every public figure lies a web of real emotions, relationships, and trauma. A father is not just someone with legal visitation rights. He must be someone the children trust, love, and want to see. If none of them chooses to do so, that silence is louder than any court order. Even Shiloh, who was once perceived as particularly close to Pitt, and the younger twins Knox and Vivienne, have refrained from speaking publicly in support of their father. Could it be that Angelina's silence, and her children's quiet withdrawal, are not simply personal choices but a shared form of emotional protection? In that light, Angelina's decision to remain silent may in fact be the most powerful statement of all. She hasn't used the media to defend herself, to refute claims, or to tell her side. And yet her silence has only amplified public curiosity. Every whisper, every court filing, every name change now carries the weight of a mystery the world is desperate to solve. People aren't just asking what she thinks. They're wondering why a woman who has spoken out on everything from refugee rights to sexual violence in conflict zones is withholding words when it comes to the destruction of her own family. Perhaps it's because what happened was too raw, too private. Or perhaps it's because she is waiting for the right time, waiting for her children to speak on their own terms. It is possible that Jolie is stepping back so that when the truth finally comes out, it comes directly from those who lived it, not shaped by legal teams or publicists, but by lived experience. When that day comes, the central question may not be who was right or wrong, but rather, what have we, the public, missed all along? In fairness, Brad Pitt may be trying to change. He may be seeking redemption, or at least reconciliation. But is that enough when the wounds appear this deep? Forgiveness is not something granted by public opinion. It's a deeply personal decision, And in this case, the family's actions suggest that forgiveness has not yet been offered, not even considered. And so, like any story without closure, we remain fixated not just on the past, but on what's next. Can a father regain the trust he once lost? Will a mother ever speak out? Or will she continue to protect her children with her silence? And will the children, now young adults, ever choose to share their truth with the world? Behind the locked gates of Hollywood mansions lie families no different from our own, bound not by wealth, but by love, loss, and sometimes pain. This story is not just about a divorce. It is about what happens when trust is broken, when silence becomes a shield, and when the people we love the most become the ones we can no longer bear to face. What good is legal visitation if none of the children even want to see him? This statement not only highlights Brad Pitt's personal tragedy, but also opens a new chapter of uncertainty in the post-divorce battle between Hollywood's former golden couple. Why has a father, once admired for his image as a loving family man, found himself alienated by his own children? More importantly, if Angelina Jolie, who has spent years maintaining silence, is now seriously considering breaking that silence with a tell-all memoir, what truly happened behind the closed doors of the Jolie-Pitt household that could shatter the carefully crafted public image of Brad Pitt? According to insiders quoted in recent reports, even the mere possibility of Pitt reconciling with his children has intensified an already fragile situation. What makes this even more precarious is Angelina's alleged decision to seriously consider writing a memoir that could expose the entire disintegration of their marriage, an act many believe could dismantle Brad's rehabilitated public image. And this idea isn't new. People close to Jolie have long encouraged her to tell her side of the story, not as an act of revenge, but as a way to reclaim ownership of her narrative, which has been dissected, misinterpreted, and reshaped by lawyers, publicists, and anonymous sources for years. Although Pitt and Jolie's divorce was officially finalized last December, they remain entangled in a separate legal dispute over Chateau Miraval, the French winery they once co-owned. In 2021, Jolie sold her share to Stoli Group, owned by Russian billionaire Yuri Shefler. Pitt immediately sued her, claiming she violated a verbal agreement that neither would sell their shares without mutual consent. Jolie, however, responded with a countersuit, accusing Pitt of deliberately sabotaging a buyout deal because she refused to sign an NDA, an agreement she claims was designed to silence her about his abusive behavior and cover-ups. This revelation is more than just a legal footnote. It shines a harsh light on the darker reality that Pitt's attempts at image rehabilitation may have been built on enforced silence. A source close to Jolie stated, "Angelina has always delayed telling her story because she values her children's privacy. But Brad has been pushing her into a corner with endless legal battles and mounting legal fees, leaving her with no choice. The harder he pushes, the more reason she has to speak, not to smear his reputation, but to defend herself and reveal the truth." This explains why both industry insiders and fans are anxiously waiting to see if the memoir will materialize. If it does, it could become a media bombshell, not just because of the names involved, but because it could fundamentally reshape public understanding of what truly happened behind the scenes. As one insider bluntly put it would be a disaster for Brad if Angelina decides to tell all. He has worked hard to rebuild his image, especially through film promotions and philanthropic efforts. But if she exposes the full truth, the public may not forgive him so easily. This tension is magnified by the current cultural climate in the entertainment industry, where the power of storytelling is more potent than ever. Angelina, with her global reputation and image as a resilient mother, has the ability to turn her personal story into a defining narrative about truth, survival, and what women endure behind the closed doors of Hollywood power. She is not just a single mother, she is a human rights advocate, a former UN ambassador, and when she speaks, the world listens. What's more, Jolie's decision to tell her story is no longer merely a personal choice. It is increasingly being framed as an act of moral and cultural significance. Can women remain silent forever when forced into the role of a victim? Can justice truly exist if one side dominates the narrative, while the other is pressured to sign gag orders to preserve a carefully curated public image? Meanwhile, Brad Pitt continues to fight to maintain the persona of a, quote, misunderstood father. Yet no PR strategy can erase the emotional disconnect of children who no longer wish to be near him. If Pax, Maddox, and Zahara, the three children who reportedly despise him, refuse to stand by him during these turbulent times, their absence becomes a louder statement than any press release. The truth does not solely exist in court filings. It lives in the actions of those who once trusted him and now keep their distance. We are witnessing the build-up to an unwritten final chapter. And it may be Angelina, the woman who has chosen silence for years, who writes it. When a mother feels compelled to tell the truth to protect her children, what she writes is no longer just a memoir, it is a testimony. And when that testimony comes from someone who has loved, endured, and sacrificed for her family, the world cannot simply look away. Hollywood is watching. The world is watching. And if this memoir is indeed published, it could shake not just the reputation of one man but also the unspoken rules of the industry. Who has the right to tell their story? Who is forced into silence, and what happens when that silence finally shatters?